Thank you. Before I begin, I want to thank Dr. Sands, our president at Virginia Tech, and Whit Babcock, our athletic director, for their faith in me to take this challenge and represent this fine institution, Virginia Tech. It's been a place I've admired from afar for many, many years, and a challenge and a job that I'm awfully excited to be a part of. Many times I'm asked about the attractiveness of Virginia Tech and all the sorts of things that led me to really want to be a part of Virginia Tech, and my pat answer is why not? There's just so many great things in terms of academic reputation, athletic reputation, location, and tradition that I'm just really truly humbled and honored to be a part of it and try and build on the fantastic tradition that Coach Beamer established at Virginia Tech. The transition's been incredibly smooth thanks to the professionalism of people across the board, from Whit and his staff to Coach Beamer and his staff, and the ensemble that we've brought together that have worked together ego-lessly or without worry about who gets the credit, but just genuinely concerned about Virginia Tech and making progress with the football program. So I'm looking forward to answering many of y'all's questions as we move forward, and I know you want to hear from our fantastic representatives of Virginia Tech football. So,
questions for Coach Fuente, please. To our left, Coach, second row.
Coach Paul Woody, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Could you give us an update on your quarterback situation? Are you going into the preseason with a definitive starter, or are you still determining who that guy is going to be?
Yeah, no, we're not going into the season, going into preseason with a definitive starter. I believe that it'll be one of the two older kids, Brendan Motley or Gerard Evans. That's not to say that I'm disappointed with the younger kids or don't reserve my right to change my mind if we get in the middle of fall camp and the younger kids pass up the older kids. But my evaluation so far is that it'll probably be one of those two. I think both of those kids will play a huge role on our team, whether they're standing on the sidelines or playing on the field. I think people will get, particularly local fans, will want to know who's going to run out there the first series versus Liberty. But I would say that we're going to need both of those guys to give ourselves a chance to have success during the fall. So they're both working incredibly hard. There's not one guy over another right now. It's up in the air, but I like the way they're going about it and the way they're working.
Coach, here to your right with the podium, a lot has been said for athletic directors over the years about having a schedule for the first 100 days. What was the first 100 days like, or within that window for you as a new head coach?
Well, it was pretty hectic. You know, when you take a new job, there's no 2 weeks notice in this profession. I mean, you just hit the ground running, and you know, the first thing we did was try to assemble a staff, get a handle on the staff dynamic and how it was gonna work. We had to get caught up on the current commitments that Coach Beamer and his staff had already had. We actually had 9 guys that were scheduled to come in at midterm, so we were really pressed for time to make sure we reached out to those guys and got in front of those kids because they were going to start school in the winter session. So we did all of that, building a staff and recruiting, and then had a little break there over Christmas while Virginia Tech and Coach Beamer played in their bowl game, and while Memphis played in their bowl game. I got a chance to kind of take stock in where we were at, think about how I was really going to approach the team for the first team meeting, and really set the tone there, and move forward into the spring semester.
We're going to go to the right, Coach, here towards the end.
Hey, Coach, John Apicello, Channel 10 in Roanoke. How have you found, and you just talked about recruiting on the fly here as you got here, How have you found Virginia Tech, and how were you received in Virginia in a lot of those high schools that you had to go into for the first time?
Yeah, it's been a great reception. We've done everything in our power to reach out to those areas in the state of Virginia through our clinics. And we had clinics in Blacksburg. We participated in clinics in Richmond. We participated in clinics in Northern Virginia as an entire staff. We put on our own clinic in the 757 Virginia Beach area to try and extend those invitations and build those relationships. Several of our guys that have been on staff for some time already have pre-existing relationships, so we've tried to build on those. We've also, through the recent camp legislation, done camps in those similar areas in order to try and reach out to those people, but been received very well. I look for it to continue to be a positive thing. It's an emphasis for us. We'll continue to build on that momentum of recruiting in Virginia.
Coach, far left, it'll be about the fifth row.
Hi, Coach. Jahar Ali, GobblerCountry.com. Back to the quarterbacks for a second. What are 3 traits you would like to see in your starting quarterback?
3 traits, what's that? I'm sorry.
Like 3 traits, tangibles, that your quarterback needs to have in order to be successful?
Yeah, sure. Well, the first rule of playing quarterback is don't lose the game. Don't take care of the football, secure the football. That's a guy that touches the ball on every single play, and can do a lot of great things for you and can do a lot of damage too. So the first rule is hang on to the football. The second thing for us is handling composure, or handling the emotional ups and downs of the games. It's very difficult. It's one thing to be sitting in a classroom and have to know the answers to the test. It's another thing to be standing in front of 75,000 people and have just taken a big hit and feeling the momentum of the game, the back and forth, and still stay in the moment and concentrate on the task at hand. And the last thing for us is predicted outcomes. That's what I want to see. I want to see a quarterback that goes where he's supposed to go with the football. Now, sometimes the results may not always be what we want them to be, but for us, it's about is that kid doing what we're asking him to do on a consistent basis. Even if the result didn't work out, maybe there was another variable at play there. But for us, it's charting how many predicted outcomes we get on a given rep.
Coach, very back of the room, camera stand right in the center.
How you doing, Coach? Mitch Brown, WTKR TV. I know you just touched on recruiting in Virginia, but to my knowledge, you have 20 players from the 757 on your roster currently. Can you just talk about how you expect some of the older guys to kind of foster those younger guys from the 757?
Yeah, we've got a great tradition of players from the 757 area, and we'll continue that. And you're right, those player relationships maybe mean as much or more than the coach-to-coach relationships or the coach-to-player relationships. Those guys do as good a job as anyone recruiting for Virginia Tech, because they know what it's like on a daily basis. And I think our kids have done a really good job of that, and they will continue to do that. But there is definitely connectivity amongst kids, especially in today's day and age when it's so easy to have a conversation, with your cell phone, so many different mediums with which to contact people. So it's a huge aspect of recruiting locally and in 757.
Coach, to your right, second row.
Bob Holliday, WRL.com. Coach, how would you describe your offensive philosophy? I realize that what people don't know is an advantage to you, but things that you can share in general about what Virginia Tech fans and we in the media should see from your offense.
Sure. Well, I believe the first thing is wherever I've been associated with, it's changed. Not the philosophy, but what it's looked like. When we were at TCU, we had a certain skill set out there, and we did what we felt like was best to have success at TCU, and same thing at Memphis. Well, it may look a little bit different at Virginia Tech just based on who we have. We didn't have a guy like Bucky Hodges at any place I've ever been. So it may look a little bit different. So the first thing is we have to adapt to our talent. That's what coaching is, to give our kids the best chance to have success. We've got to do a great job adapting or tweaking it to what fits our talent. The second thing I would say is centers around running the football. It doesn't matter to me, kind of the way I was raised in football was you find a way to run the football first and everything else will work out. You throw the ball to score points, you run the ball to win the game. A good running game helps the special teams, helps the defense, and it helps the offense. That being said, we have traditionally found unconventional ways to run the football, whether it was through the wide receiver position, through the quarterback position, or the running back position, which we like to think has given us a fighting chance when maybe we were a little bit outmanned up front. So we try and find different ways to run the ball, but that's where it starts. And then we want to throw the ball down the field. I think we do a good job of getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands, but at times we need to play action off that run game and chunk it and see what happens. And then lastly, tempo, in my opinion, is an advantage. Now, I also believe it's like anything else. It's probably like sugar and pizza and soda pop. Too much of it is not a good thing. And I do not believe in going so fast so that to the detriment that we hurt the other side of the football. So I do believe it's an advantage, but we want to manage it in the right way to give us the best chance for the ultimate goal, which is just to win the game. It's not to lead the country in offense. It's not to lead the country in plays. It's not to lead the country in defense. It's to find a way to win the ball game.
Coach, this is like the 2-minute drill. We're going to see if we can squeeze in 2 more questions. To your left, 7th row.
Coach, Tony DeFazio, Pittsburgh Sports Report. You're one of 3 first-year head coaches in the ACC Coastal Division this year. Does that amount of newness increase the challenge in terms of preparation or familiarizing yourself with your opponents?
I don't think so. By the time we play Miami, we're going to have a great sample size of what they're doing on both sides of the ball. Same thing can be said for them, for us. The things that cause you a challenge when there's turnover as a coach is when there's a coordinator change and then you've got them early in the season and you're trying to figure out what they're really going to look like on offense or defense. But I don't see that as adding to the challenge. Obviously, they're very competent and accomplished coaches that I think are going to do very good jobs at their respective schools. But in terms of trying to find a way to win the game, it's basically the same.
Last question, to your right, front row.
Coach Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Just what you can say about, I know you said the respect for Frank Beamer, how some of the pillars of what you're trying to do are similar, and then how you make this your own.
Yeah, well, I believe in this wholeheartedly. I believe in paying great respect to the things that have happened in the past. There's no reason for us to do anything other than that. We should celebrate Coach Beamer and his accomplishments. There may never be another person in Virginia Tech history that means as much to that school as Coach Beamer, and we should celebrate that. But we also have an obligation to build on what he has done. And I have an obligation to do that in the best way that I know possible. And that does not mean doing it exactly the way he did it. That means paying great tribute to the way that he did things and understanding there was a fantastic foundation there of core values. And let's build on it through our own personalities. And that's the approach we've tried to take.
Coach, thank you very much. Welcome to the conference.
You bet. Thank you very much.